Hello everybody, so today we're going to get into our last couple of videos of South Asia, and that is going to be talking about the Sinhalese over in modern day Sri Lanka. So let's jump right into it. So this is just an idea of the island of Sri Lanka today, also known as Ceylon in the past, but it is Sri Lanka. And we'll talk about the different major cities. Some ones that I'll talk about: Jaffna, Anuradhapura. This is going to be really important to the first history. Polonnaruwa, and others. They're going to be some of the centers of these empires that will grow up on the island. Today, of course, the capital is Colombo. And so this is just to give an idea of what it looks like. And then we'll get into today some of the early history. We do believe that people are settled in Sri Lanka around 34,000 years ago. We don't have any writings, so couldn't really tell you much about what was going on there. Of course, we have archaeological ruins and stuff like that we can glean some. We have some future histories, but for most of time, we don't really have a lot of stuff. Then we have the Indo-Aryan migration. Now, I've talked about this in previous videos, but you need to understand the Aryans took a long time to funnel their way all the way down into India, so starting around 1700 BCE or so. And then according to legend, under the great Prince Vijaya, a large contingent of the Indo-Aryans will migrate across the southern tip of India, across the water, into Sri Lanka, and eventually basically take over all of the local population and perhaps displace them. Pretty much the modern day Sinhalese all claim descent from these people who came over around 2,500 years ago. Now, what's important here is that we don't necessarily have one single unified empire over the island really at any given time. This is going to be stuff, once again, kind of like the Rajput, in that you're going to have these cities that eventually grow, kind of create their own empire around a city, and some will fall over time. And there will be kind of one dominant city-state, if you will, in any given era, but no one really controls the whole island, okay? So it's a series of these. I'm going to get kind of to the first one today in some of our establishment, and then I'll talk about some others in the subsequent video. So the first real kingdom that we can say is developed in this area is the Anuradhapura Kingdom, which started around 377 BCE and lasted until 1017 CE. So that is very, very impressive. 1,400 years. Like, that's a pretty strong run. From what we know, they were based on farming and located primarily in the north and western part of the island. They did have a king, and their king was responsible for the law, army, and as a protector of the faith, which is going to be very important, which we'll talk about in the next slide. There you see a picture of one of their early and considered to be greatest kings, Devanampiya Tissa. And on the right are some of the older ruins of Anuradhapura. When you look at the size of those walls, I mean, this place is legit. Like, whatever lack of writing we have, you can clearly see sophistication that was here, because you can't build stuff that big without organized empire. But one of the key things here is the arrival of Buddhism. We do seem to have evidence that Anuradhapura had connections to the Mauryan dynasty, who was relatively new as well in the 300s BCE. And this empire was said under Devanampiya Tissa was able to start trade and stuff like that. And under the great ruler Ashoka, who you see there on the left, that he sent Buddhist missionaries led by his son Mahinda, who is depicted on the right, to spread Buddhism to the island. And so that's in the 300s BCE, and not 300, I think the 200s BC, I apologize. And that is going to be like super crucial, because that is the key faith today. And again, we have the spread and survival of Buddhism We talked about how it kind of died out in India, but spreading out to other areas, and especially when I talk about Southeast Asia, we're going to talk a whole lot more about Buddhism. Um, One of the things that is said to be had by them at Anuradhapura today is said to be the tooth relic, which is over on the right there. You see that is the container that holds supposedly one of Buddha's teeth that was recovered after he was cremated. The concept was eventually developed that whoever holds the tooth relic has the divine right to rule the land. So when the city states would attack each other and go to war, if you could knock off the state and take the tooth relic, a lot of people would be like, well, they've got the tooth relic, so they have the right to rule the land. Yes, it's not a very Buddhist thing to go to war, but what are you going to do? And this would be passed from kingdom to kingdom until it came finally to the final Sinhalese kingdom of Kandy. And I apologize, I said that was Anuradhapura. I'm incorrect. It today is in Kandy, in Sri Lanka, in the Temple of the Tooth, which you see the picture there on the left. So really, really strong ties to Buddhism here. We also know with Anuradhapura they used coins, and they actually seem to make some reproductions of Roman coins as well. We do know that they were able to establish trade with the Romans, and there were a couple Roman settlements on the island. So that's pretty impressive when you talk about it. After the turn of the millennium, they would continue to grow, but would kind of start to slow down. And then finally, in the year 1017, they were conquered by the Chola Kingdom of southern India, which would have some reach into Southeast Asia as well. I can talk about them later. But that would be kind of the end to this first period of Sri Lankan history, the establishment of some empires, some cultural things. We've got some coinage and trade and stuff like that. And so that kind of introduces you to them. And in the next video, we'll get a little bit deeper, okay? Hope you enjoyed this one. I'll see you guys soon.